Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike. Today I am going to be doing my June wrap-up for you. In this video I'm going to be talking about the 3 books I read in June, which is a little bit less than I read in May when I read double the amount. However, I had a very different goal when it came to reading books in June, namely to up the page count of the books that I was reading. So I felt that even though I'm hitting my Goodreads goal, which is really nice, I was really feeling like I was just reading shorter books, so like more like 300-page books. So I was like, I want to remedy that, and I want to read 2 books over 500 pages in the month of June, and that's what I did. I didn't get through my audiobook this month. I've been listening to it mainly as I've been going to sleep, but hey, this being right before summer break, and this being the craziest time of the year if you're a teacher, it just means I just fall asleep too quickly and then I lose track of where I was at. So I hope to be able to update you on my audiobook and having finished it in my next my July wrap-up, I should say. So let's just talk about the 3 books that I've read. I started off the month and this took ages to get through, not because of the book, but because I just didn't have time to read. I had been so busy that for like a whole weekend, I didn't read a single thing, which hadn't really happened yet in a couple of months. So the book in question is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. And this book, it has a slightly different title in the US. It's The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. So it has different titles in different countries, you could say. This is a UK edition that I picked up, I think, over a year ago. And it had been really sort of one of the things I really wanted to read for a while now. So I finally bit the bullet and got around to it. This book is just over 500 pages, I believe. Yeah, just over 500 pages, like 505 or something like that. So this fit the bill quite nicely, even though this book looks a lot bigger than it actually is. And this book was one I really enjoyed. In case you don't know what this book is about, it's sort of like a whodunit kind of mystery. Everybody's stuck in this one house, and you know that one of those people or something is going to happen and she's going to die, and this character needs to solve it. And he is going to wake up in a different body every single day. And we very quickly find out that he has 8 cycles, 8 days to figure out what's going on with this mystery, this death. And if he solves it, there's something there for him at the end of the line. So there's sort of like this plot of him figuring things out, but then there's also the subplot of why he is figuring things out and sort of like the mystery behind that. And that was actually the plot that I enjoyed even more than the main plot, I think. And this was just really good, very cunning, very cleverly written as well. I really liked how it all came together in the end. And I do have to say that there were a couple of slow bits in here, which is another reason why I think I read 250 pages and then I didn't read it for like 2 weeks, because it just really in the middle it started to drag a little, because so many things had to be put in place to make sure that the mystery could be resolved. And in the end it does come together and everything has a purpose. And I feel that this is really one of those books where you can go back to. So I think that if I were to reread this, I might be able to place some of the clues because I know how things are going to finish now. So it's definitely a really good sort of, well, detective mystery kind of story, but not quite. There is a little bit, like, there is something darker and more mysterious going on than just your plain whodunit, which I really appreciated about this. And this was really one that also I really like the setting. It's sort of set in this like Downton Abbey-esque kind of grand manor that's past its prime, and everybody gathers here to also solve a mystery that happened 20 years ago. So this is just one of those books that it was different for me, like different enough, because I do like a good detective, of course, but this was still, it had that thriller mystery element to it as well. Mysterious setting. It verges on sort of like gothic undertones at times as well. So for me, this was definitely a really good one. I think I gave this 4, maybe 4.5 stars in the end, because I did feel it dragged a little in the middle. Then the second book I read is The Deathless Girls by Kiran, Millwood, Hargrave. This I put in a reading vlog that I posted a couple of weeks ago, so you will already know a little bit of my thoughts about this if you watched that. But this book was one that I picked up in my most recent haul, which again, I will make sure to link those videos in the eye for you so you can watch them if you want. But in my most recent haul, I picked this up, and I mainly picked this up because it has a stunning cover, and Kiran Millwood Hargrave is best known, I think, for her young, and not so much her young adult, but her middle grade fiction. I had never read anything by her yet, and this book was one that just really intrigued me because it promises to give you sort of the origin story of the Brides of Dracula. And Dracula being one of my favorite stories ever, I thought it was cool. What I didn't know about this book until I had finished it is that in the back, we find out that this book is part of the Bellatrix project, I believe it's called, yes. And that story aims, or that project aims to sort of give you stories from female perspectives, and that's sort of what this story is trying to do as well. So that was something I thought was really cool, to sort of tell the stories behind the women who are very often side characters in popular fiction, to give them a voice and to see where they are coming from. So I thought it was an interesting play on, you know, just doing something like that. And The Deathless Girls is a novel where we follow two girls who I think, well, you know, their sort of derogatory term that is used in the book is gypsy, which is something that they don't like themselves, but what they actually call themselves, you don't really find out. So for lack of a better term, I will just call them gypsies. And their camp is overrun by these men, and then they are captured. Most of their little encampment is slaughtered, but all the younger kids are, well, brought up to the castle, and they need to work. And they don't really know what's going on. They just know that this overlord that they are being taken to is ruled by what they call the dragon. And that then in the end ends up to be, you know, Dracula and things like that. And for this being a Brides of Dracula sort of origin story, we definitely get more of the origin and less of the Brides of Dracula. And that was something that I thought was a bit of a shame, because I would have wanted more like Brides of Dracula and really giving them their story as being the Brides of Dracula, but this story mainly focuses on how they become that and not what they do being the Brides of Dracula. So for me, that was the bit that it was very like skimming over towards the end, and I would have liked less of the, oh no, we don't know what's going on, oh, it's all so mysterious. And then the actual like Dracula vampire bit, I felt was a bit rushed. So, because it takes like 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the book for us to get there. And then I felt it was just wrapped up a little too quickly and a little too conveniently. I did really like the two sisters that we're focusing on. They are very different characters. They deal with things in their own way. So I did like the characterization of the two lead characters that we follow in the book. It's just that plot-wise, I wanted something differently from this, which I cannot fault the book for, because those were my expectations. But still, for me, I wanted there to be just perhaps a little bit more action and a little less characterization. That's just what I like. That's what I prefer. So I think I gave this 3 stars in the end. And then last but not least, I really finished this on like the last day of June, is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy, which I'm currently reading. I will be reading the 3rd book. I'm going to preface by saying that because this was not my favorite. A lot of people say that this is their favorite book in the trilogy, and that has me worried, really, really worried for book number 3. But I do feel that the way this book ends makes me want to read the 3rd one of its own regard. But still, this, you guys, the first 150 pages are a Twilight retelling. It's like this whole love triangle sort of situation, and I'm not playing. I thought it was ridiculous, and it just takes too long. This book is over 600 pages. This was a tedious read for me. Like, I kind of like Farah, and I mean, Rhysand, I get it. I get why people like this. It's all the angsty sort of romancy sort of stuff, and that's what I just don't like. I'm terribly sorry. So again, here I also felt that the action was very rushed and sort of squashed into the latter half of the book. There wasn't that much going on in the middle. I felt that the sort of revelation of this book was one where I was like, yeah, of course it had to be that, you know? So I just felt that this book, where I could see the intention of what the book is trying to do, I just didn't buy into it. So for me, it felt very tropey, and it didn't give me the feels. It didn't give me the feels. Even though I have come to appreciate Resent now a lot more than I did in the first book, which is the purpose of this book in a way, you could say. And I just think that this is definitely one of those like filler books, because I think the third book is going to be more about defeating the king, I hope. If that's the case, then I might like that better, but this was just 600 pages of could have been done in 300 kind of situation, to me anyways. So I felt there were too many paths, too many, yeah, it just didn't have much focus. I think that's what my issue was with this. It just has a lack of focus. It is trying to do too much, and with that, it does nothing at all. Do I need to say more? I did give this 3 stars because I still like Farah. I still like Resent. Like, I like the characters, but I'm not rooting for them. I'm not rooting for anyone in these stories. Like the first one, where it was really like a split between love story and action story, I could appreciate that more because we still got the action. And here it was just Twilight retelling part 1. Part 2 was like, oh, but I'm supposed to hate you, why am I here kind of situation. And then she needs to come to terms with that. And then all of a sudden, like that was my issue in the first book as well. Everything happened like this. All of a sudden, Farah was like, oh yeah, of course I'm in love with you. And I feel that this book is sort of doing the same. It has a little bit of a better build-up, but like I said, I felt that the build-up towards that was not, could have been done better. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's where I'm gonna leave it. I will be reading the third one. I will be reading the third one, but I wanted to cleanse my palette first, so I first picked up something differently before I move on to, what's it called again? A Court of Wings and Ruin. Yes. So those were the books that I read in June. Not a whole lot, but definitely more like pages that I read, so that I'm very satisfied with. I will be reading that third book in the ACOTAR series just to make sure that I finish it off. I am intrigued enough to continue on. So that's a positive. Let's end this video on a positive note. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 1 video a week over on this channel. So hope to see you again next week. Bye bye.